Music icon Morrissey is back to enrage the bedwetting mob with a new, authentically anti-establishment album and a stinging rebuke of the UK's relentless COVID-19 lockdown. In an interview published on his Morissey Central website, the former Smiths frontman ripped into how coronavirus rules and restrictions have been weaponised to widen the gap between us and them. The interviewer put it to Morrissey that, quote, COVID society is also the precise description of slavery. Yet we are supposed to be in a time when anything connected to slavery must be blown up or thrown in a canal in Bristol. Precisely, responded Morrissey, and more people are now forced into poverty, which is another form of slavery, as is tax and council tax and all the other ways in which we are pinned down and tracked. Our present freedom is restricted to visiting supermarkets and buying sofas. The government act like Chinese emperors. We will allow you to live as we do if you behave yourself. Morrissey pointed out that the elite aren't subject to the same COVID rules that they impose on everyone else. He said the country isn't really in lockdown except for people at the lower end of the social ladder. People who have wealth are not remotely affected by rules and regulations. Their lives are as they always were. The police only fine people who live on council estates, haven't you noticed? Far from the projection of the collectivist myth that we're all in this together, the kind of fake performative charade embodied by the weekly clap for the NHS, or cringe celebrity charity fundraisers. Morrissey points out that in reality, the lockdown has made people more atomised than ever before. It has brought the worst out in people, and we weren't ever in this together. We are deprived of seeing and hearing other people, and above all, you want to be with others who see and hear what you see and hear, because this is basic oxygen for the human soul. Take it away, and people are dead. What defines England's new contrived, collectivised, patriotic identity? It's firmly based around people worshipping dysfunctional organs of the state, while hiding their actual identity behind state-mandated cloth and elastic. Any native semblance of true English identity has long been overpowered by the all-consuming strength of diversity. The kind of diversity that led to the #Refugees Welcome campaign and the British government graciously rescuing refugee Salman Abedi from war-torn Libya. Abedi went on to show his gratitude by blowing himself up at an Ariana Grande concert, killing 22 people and injuring 800. Many of them children. Concerned concert-goers and flustered security guards wanted to report Abedi's suspicious behaviour to higher-ups, but they were either ignored or refrained from choosing to report him at all for fear of being branded racist. But as we've been told many times before, political correctness is just being nice to people. Diversity necessitates the dissolving of borders, unless those borders are concrete bollards on bridges. Morrissey mentions another case of diversity gone wrong. Emily Jones, the 7-year-old girl from Bolton who had her throat slit while cycling through the park on Mother's Day last year. The culprit was an Albanian woman smuggled into the UK on a lorry and later given asylum by the government despite lying about being a victim of human trafficking. Despite admitting that the killing of Emily Jones was, quote, premeditated, 30-year-old Eltonia Skarna escaped a murder charge because her defence team successfully claimed she'd just forgotten to take her meds that day. The Manchester Arena bombing is the subject of the title track of Morrissey's new album, Bonfire of Teenagers. Doesn't mince words, does he? Bonfire of Teenagers, the track is magnificent, but you must be expecting some manufactured paranoia. The usual, you can't sing about that, pearl fumblers. Morrissey was asked. He responded, quote, it's about the kids who were murdered, yes. We're not encouraged to look beneath the surface because it's dark and hidden. But the song is anti-terror, and anyone who finds that offensive can only be devoid of personal morality. As your brother once said to me, the Manchester Arena bombing was Britain's 9/11. We should appreciate anyone who asks questions. Except the music industry doesn't appreciate artists who question anything.
The music industry doesn't like mavericks. They don't like that. They like people like Harry Styles.
Yeah.
Who they say, wear this dress and shut it. Wear this, sing that, and go home.
That's why the whole industry is one huge, insipid, sanctimonious circle jerk, where success isn't judged on authenticity or talent, but on who is the best at amplifying glib, consensus, establishment-approved cultural and political narratives. The very industry that can only remain true to itself by encouraging unchained open expression, now creates the conditions for the very polar opposite. And that's why Morrissey, despite maintaining a substantial loyal core fanbase, was unceremoniously dropped by his record label for committing the unforgivable sin of saying diversity isn't a strength. Sony Corporation-owned BMG responded by saying the decision to cancel Morrissey was based on their, quote, new plans for diversity. Plans that didn't include Mozza, a middle-aged white man. Not diverse enough. The world's oldest record store also banned sales of his work altogether. A rail company removed all posters promoting his work after a single customer complained that they were offended. But as Morrissey himself explains, despite the mob's ceaseless pearl-clutching, he's been cancelled by the mainstream a million times already. You can't cancel someone who has always been cancelled. When did you last see me on television or hear me on the radio? I unintentionally invented the condition of being cancelled. The music industry hasn't ever celebrated me or offered me free food. I've always been treated like a scientific experiment gone wrong. I'm used to it. I've been immune to enemy fire for many years. I wear a bulletproof vest in the bath. It seems to me that as soon as one person boos, they all start to boo, and then when someone cheers, they all start to cheer. But that's just a loose theory. According to Morrissey himself and others who've heard the album, Bonfire of Teenagers is his best solo work to date. So prepare for another onslaught of one-star reviews from music journalists. Intellectual cowards who know they'd soon be out of a career if they dared provoke the baying mob by doing so much as giving Morrissey a fair crack of the whip. Because apparently in the music industry, the only form of diversity that isn't a strength is diversity of thought.